The truth is that you can't grow your business by accident. What you need is direction, clarity, and a plan. Now, in this video, we are going to focus on the second stage of the business coaching process. In the second stage, we're going to talk about defining your growth objectives. Now, having completed the first stage, which was the current state analysis or the current state assessment, now it's time to get strategic. So I'll take you through defining short-term and long-term objectives or goals of your particular business and deciding or determining which key performance indicators will work to push your agenda forward. Now, it is very significant to note that KPIs are one of the most important tools that you need to have, especially if you are to scale your business. The most important thing to take note of there is that if you can't measure it, it means that you can't manage it. Oftentimes, a lot of entrepreneurs think that growth will come by accident. So, because of that, they lack that clarity and direction that they need to have from the onset to ensure that they have parameters that they have which they can track and measure to see whether they are still on target to arrive at their particular destination. Hello, I'm Kenneth Piri. I help entrepreneurs like you to build scalable, profitable, as well as fundable businesses. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe and like the videos so that each and every time you are praised, every time we bring you fresh and exciting business tips to help you scale that business and venture into entrepreneurship if you have not yet done so. You have been there on the sidelines. Now we're giving you an opportunity through these particular tips to ensure that you are also on board with all the other people that are coming to our training to push your entrepreneurial journey forward. Now, one of the most important things that we know about planning, if you're an entrepreneur or you are someone who has been reading about business, you've been watching content on business, you've been tiptoeing just a bit into the entrepreneurial game, or you are on the sidelines still undecided, one of the most important things that you will not and that you will hear is that planning is one of those most significant things that a business sits on. It is the foundation of what is going to happen in a business, and it will propel a business forward. It will give you the roadmap. It will give you the tools to use to get to that particular destination. That is why you have also probably heard of the saying that says, not planning is planning to fail. So a lot of entrepreneurs that does not apply this strategic practice in their business to always have planning on a continuous basis always will fail. The reason is planning is a process, and because it's a process, it must be continual. It's not an event that you sit down at the beginning of the year or in a particular calendar period and then just deal with it and then it's over. No, it is a process that you go back, iterate, evaluate, change this, change that, to make sure that at all times you are firing on all cylinders, charging towards that particular goal that you have for your business and as an entrepreneur. Okay, so now, usually a lot of people start on the wrong side of planning, which is to start with short-term goals going to the long-term ones. Remember that planning always starts with a vision. I'll link a video down below that we did a while ago where you can see exactly what a vision is and what encompasses a compelling vision. So you need to have a vision which is very broad and general in nature. And then from then we can derive long-term vision goals or long-term strategic goals. Now, the reason why you're starting with the long term is so that if you know the destination, which is where you want the business to be, within a given time period, it could be 3, it could be 5 years, whatever the time a span might be for your long-term planning. Then you can do some reverse engineering and go back to the beginning and find out exactly what needs to be done on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly, on a monthly, and so forth for you to attain that long-term objective. So often we find that a lot of entrepreneurs are starting with the short term, and then while in that planning, they realize that the short-term goals do not align with their long-term vision. So always start with a broad vision. From the vision, then you can determine or define your long-term goals. Before I go into this, I also want to put my own personal opinion as far as time frame is concerned. Remember that in that particular planning process, your goals must be SMART, right? A SMART being the acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time frame. That time frame, I believe that in the current economic environment, in the current times where we are now, the time spans have changed. We used to know that short term would cover all the things that are happening within 1 year calendar period. But now look at it. With all these innovations that are coming through, with all these developments, new tech advances, you see that time is sort of shrinking. Things that you would have taken a year to complete, you can do them in days, you can do them in months, in weeks, and so forth. So rather, for short term, what I advise entrepreneurs to do is don't make the short term to be a year. Bring it down to within 3 to 6 months, because currently 3 to 6 months is quite a long period of time in terms of advances. You've seen a new large language models in AI coming through, new AI agents and so forth. All of these changing the dynamics as far as time is concerned in the market. So rather shrink that short term to be at least maximum 6 months. And then from them on, year going upward, we can now call that a long term, because it's now taking shorter to take a product, for instance, through the product development stage, make it a market fit and put it to the market. So that, I think, is very significant to note and to start implementing now if we are to come up with goals and objectives that really address what we want to achieve in the particular market. Okay, so now going back to long-term goals. Now, the long-term goals, I prefer to call them long-term vision goals, because they are tied to your reason of being. They are tied to why you as a business have ventured into this particular, on this particular journey, and what it is that you want to achieve. So, for instance, let me give you an example. An example would be enter two regional markets, or enter two new regional markets, Western Cape province and Limpopo. All right. Now you'll notice there that that is a SMART long-term goal. The reason why I'm saying SMART is specific. You know what you need to do. What you're doing is you're venturing into a new market, and you've specified which market you're venturing into. Now it is measurable, because already you got the number 2, which means you can count them 1, 2 regions that you are going to grow your business into. All right. And then depending on your resources, now from where it stands, that will be also attainable, is realistic. Obviously, if it's attainable, it's realistic. And then there is a time frame that you put. Then you can say, enter two new regional markets, Western Cape and Limpopo province, within the next 24 months. Okay? So, which means there is a time span. You can now go back when you're doing your evaluation, and time is going to be significant. When you reach that milestone in time, have you achieved that goal or not? So it means that there is also a dimension of measurability there that you can still apply to that particular goal. Another long-term goal could be a reach 1 million revenue within the next 18 months. Okay. So there it is specific, it is revenue, and it is measurable, 1 million revenue, and then it is attainable depending on your resources, obviously, meaning that it will also be realistic. If that is the case, then it means that there is also a time that you can attach to that. In our case here is 18 months. Now, having determined or defined your long-term goals, what you need to do then is you need to reverse engineer, go to the beginning, and then look at things that needs to be done now in the short term, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. What is it that you need to do now in order to achieve that particular goal? Obviously, this is going to depend on your resources. It's going to depend on your skills. Do you need to upskill? Do you need to expand your resource base? And so forth and so forth. Now, some examples of short-term goals that will align with your long-term goals would be maybe onboard 5 new partners each and every month in both provinces. Okay. Now, already you're specifying what, and then you're also specifying the number, which means it's quantifiable. If it is quantifiable, it's measurable. If you can measure it, then it means that you can also manage it. There is also a time frame given there, which is a month. And therefore, it means that you are tracking what is happening on a month-to-month basis. And if you're doing this on a month-to-month basis, then these partners will give you that kind of leverage that you need as a business in that particular region to make sure that you get the customers that you need, or you acquire as much business as you need in order to take over the province and also reach that 1 million rand in revenue within that 18 months. Okay, so all the short-term goals that you are developing or defining here are aligned to the main one that you just brought about in the long term. So without alignment, obviously there's disalignment, and with disalignment, you find an organization and its departments within it pulling in different directions, which means there's no singularity of purpose, there's no consensus, there's no meeting of the minds. The organization does not pull as one force in one direction, which means also that there's a lot of friction. Where there's friction, now the forward momentum and the forward progression is always affected. Therefore, it will take longer to achieve your specific goals, or you might not even hit the mark. Now, having then dealt with the long and short term objectives, of course, there are so many examples that you can deal with there. Then you go to identifying KPIs. Now, the KPIs that you're going to identify must be KPIs that you know how to measure. And these must be KPIs that will measure exactly that which you want to achieve. Oftentimes, entrepreneurs just throw KPIs that are not specific for the task at hand. Now, these KPIs, if used properly and you track them, monitor them, as time passes, you will notice that they are going to help you in day-to-day decision making in order to iterate and also ensure that you become more and more adaptable to what the market is putting forward. Remember that you charging into the market does not mean that the market does not respond back. The market will give you feedback, obviously, and some of this feedback is captured in those KPIs. Are you hitting your targets? If not, what is the problem? Okay. Now, examples of KPIs could be a customer retention rate, or how much order values are you getting per particular day or per week and so forth. Is it sufficient to get you to that 1 million revenue within 18 months? Now, if you do your calculations, you always find that either if there are gaps, you will know exactly how much you need to increase with to reach that target, or it might necessarily mean that you need to adjust your plans. Now, a lot of people find this difficult to do, where if you're tracking certain KPIs, you see that that probably might not be a realistic goal that you had put in the first place, then what you can do is then begin to evaluate, control, make changes where changes need to be made so that at the end of the day, you hit that target. However, having said that also, do not be quick again to quickly change the long-term goal, because in other ways, we want to avoid a situation where at the first sight of a little bit challenge and difficulty, you go and change your goals. No, you look first at what needs to be done. Is it being done? Try it. Go back and check the KPIs again. Are you hitting those marks? If not, then after that, you can decide to change. But don't be quick to make that change. Look first at other alternatives that you need to put in place to achieve it. As a matter of fact, already when you set that 1 million target, the assumption is that you felt that you had the capacity, the capabilities, the skills, and the resources to reach the target. So sometimes it's very good to hold on to your position and charge forward. Again, I think it's also important to take note of this fact that you need to use a goal tracker. You can use even a KPI dashboard. You use tools such as Google Sheets, Notion, and any other third-party tools that are out there. You need to have a very organized way in your particular system to monitor, to check the progress in your KPIs. Please do comment with one of your business goals this quarter. Let us share and teach each other exactly. Tell us what is working for you when you do your long-term and short-term goal setting, and what are you using in terms of resources for your KPIs and so forth. Otherwise, make sure that you subscribe for the next step. The next step is going to be the decider on whether you are successful or not. Subscribe, 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 like the video, and also hit that notification button so that you are appraised when we load new content. This is results-oriented preparation, where early preparation equals excellent results. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.